Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Magpie Circle. The question on many people's lips tonight, to quote Shakespeare, taboo or not taboo? That is the question for our Magpie Circle flock. Head coach Ian Birchinall says he can't understand booing from home supporters. 3 points from a bank holiday weekend trip to Aldershot and home game with Dover. All that means 1 point needed to guarantee the playoffs. It's Altrincham on Saturday. 7 wins from 10, let's not forget that. Probably 5th place where we are now, the best we can look to finish in. Had a very enjoyable afternoon at the club today for the sponsors' lunch. A few niblets from that. Kyle Cameron declared himself fit for Saturday. We'll see whether the manager agrees. Richard Brindley hoping to get a few minutes on the pitch as well. Everyone today, a credit to the club. And on behalf of all the sponsors that were there, a big thank you to Alice Kelk for the event, and also to the event compere, Mr. Leslie Brad. We'll come to Les in a moment. So I'm joined by record aforementioned club scorer from the 70s, Leslie Brad, and spanning the generations and the ages, female millennial Chloe Page. Welcome to you both.
Thanks, Paul, for having me back.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Chloe. Good to be with you again.
Yeah, we'll be finding out Chloe's globe trotting shortly. Ground rules for tonight. Ground rules. Respectful, professional, balanced debate, which obviously rules out anyone from Notts County Mad and our resident Twitter troll, Tom Gunner, or whatever he calls himself these days anonymously. Righty-ho. We'll go to questions in a minute. But clearly, Ian wasn't too happy with some booing that he heard from the crowd yesterday. Sparked a big debate. For my 2 penneth, I sit at the back of the Pavis towards the Cop end. I genuinely did not hear any. There was disgruntlement, bit of moaning, a bit of resignation. I genuinely didn't hear any booing. Some people who are in the Cop have said to me, whose opinion I would trust, said there was a small minority amount of booing from a very limited number of people in the Cop. Chloe, right, you're our youngest, and I don't know whether you're our most passionate fan of the three of us here at all. I've sort of mellowed down the years. Now I'm 59 in July. Now you enjoy the game. You get heated. You get passionate about it. Did you hear any? What's your take on the inverted commas booing from home fans at Meadow Lane when we won 1-0 yesterday?
So I don't sit too far away from you. So I was the same. Like you say, a little bit disgruntled. It wasn't the kind of bit of cheer clapping as it normally is. But I didn't personally hear any booing. Just from where I was, we kind of got up and just left. So we didn't stick around or anything. So I don't know whether it was a little bit later. I don't agree with it personally. Whether you thought we played well or not, whether you had a certain opinion of kind of how the players played or not, we've won. And that's the end of it kind of thing. We're in the playoffs. Is that the kind of attitude that you think the players then, are they going to want to play for the fans in the playoffs if that's how they're being treated after a win? I don't know. I don't know how much it's affected them. I'm sure Ian will have said, look, and he'll have had a conversation that's basically been like, that's a small minority. And I think they know that. And I think we should kind of put out there that 90% of the fans wouldn't have even considered it. So again, it's a small minority, which we talk about a lot, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I think go and have a chat with your friends about it rather than kind of booing them just before the playoffs. So that's just me personally.
Okay. Les, I can't believe as the club record scorer, you've ever been booed down your career. Booing.
Abuse shouted at me. Can't remember during the times that I played. I certainly never heard any booing from the home crowd, and I didn't hear any yesterday. I heard, like you're talking about, the moaning and the groaning. an interesting point as well. Really, I would really like to hear the comments from the people that were upset. Look, we all wanted to win 5-6-0, didn't we? We're playing Dover, bottom of the league. They got relegated. Everybody's, all the fans are coming down. It's going to be an easy win. We've beaten them 3-0 away from home. But they ain't bad. They scored 5 at Wrexham, so we have to be careful. We can't just go gung ho and try and bombard them. Last week they scored 2. They were holding Chesterfield till they got 2 late goals, so they're not mugs. And I thought they made it tough for us, didn't they? They stuck 8 people there out protecting the box. But in fairness to our lads, I thought the first half, we played really well. We created, I think there was something like 20 shots on goal over the game. I heard from the stats man at the ground today. So it's not through lack of trying, but I did feel watching that as the game went on in the second half, we got a bit, maybe, I don't know, a bit tired mentally, frustrated. Our passing wasn't onto the front foot. Excuse me, we weren't, we're a little bit slow in our play. And maybe that was affecting, the supporters. I don't know. But, it's Notts County Football Club that is in this battle. That's the lads on the pitch and the people watching from the side. The people watching, they need to get behind the lads as well and try and cheer them on to victory. Excuse me, I've got something tickling in my throat. But no, like you've just said, we're 1 point off of a confirmed place in the playoffs. Whatever way you look at it, the teams that sold in the first 2 places, they need to win two games to get promoted. The teams out of that, they need to win 3, don't they? That's where it all sits. So the important thing for me is that we need to get on a good run. Disappointing on Saturday. I went down to Aldershot and that was disappointing. And I felt we come away from there undefeated. We go into yesterday, and then we've got another home match. We're on a real run, and there's nothing like being on a run going into the playoffs. You don't want to go in there flat. I'm pretty sure the teams that's just missing out, whether it's Stockport, Wrexham, they'll be a bit flat after the season's finished. So not easy for them. But certainly today, mixing with the players, listening to them talking, you had that experience, and I felt they were all on a high. The camaraderie is great. Something a bit different from the days that I played is now a squad game. We didn't have that benefit. We had 11 players and a sub who only went on when somebody was injured, basically. So it was the lads that went out there. There's now a group of probably 22 players. Probably Ian sees that as he can select any of those to go in and do a job. And as I say, the camaraderie was excellent that we saw today. So we just hope it continues, and they fight as hard as they can to finish as high as they can, and then it's the playoffs. Who knows from there?
I think if we're assessing the crowd's mood, whatever you want to call it, yesterday, for me, to be honest, I went home and didn't even think about booing because I didn't hear any. But the comments, I would say, in the first half it was almost like a pre-season friendly, or it felt that, in terms of the crowd was very muted. The crowd was quiet to the extent, with no away fans, were vociferous. Previous away game, Weymouth made a lot of noise, didn't they? Dover didn't. And you could almost hear the chat from the players, and it felt just very, very quiet. What no one's really mentioned in this whole booing debate, and we'll come on to some comments now because it is mentioned, possibly there was a bit of a hangover from Aldershot, because you spoke as we were on a run, whether we had to rely on other teams to get a third or a fourth. But I think losing at Aldershot, and in the manner that we did, and with I think, team selections that surprised a lot of people. I think there was a bit of a residue of a hangover from that performance and that display as to why I think the fans were quiet. And it is presumptuous to expect a goal fest, but I guess people had seen us get 3 at Dover, and by the logic that is applied in these things, if we can get 3 away from home on a Tuesday night down there, we're going to get a minimum the same in this game. And having got the early goal, it never quite fired, did it? But let's get a few thoughts from our flock before going to Chloe and finding out what she was up to last week. Lee Brearley, long trip Saturday for the loss, but it's gone. We beat Dover, not too convincingly, it has to be said, but it's a win. My concern, as it has been most of the season, is how we defend. We concede goals too easily. David Shorter, agree, Lee, defending is our Achilles heel. Hopefully, have Brins and Cameron available for the run-in. Then should be a big difference with all our defenders to choose from. PJ Defiance, what got me on Saturday was why put Eli on the bench and not play him from the start when we had no other strikers, presuming Kyle was still carrying a knock. Charles VTAB, not sure why Ian felt the need to have a go at those that weren't happy yesterday. Some people paid £22 for that. Should get off his high horse. Steph Milek, Aldershot was awful. Horrible trip home, albeit only to the south coast. Yes, Steph, I think, is Sussex somewhere. A win is a win. Other teams higher have struggled against Dover, but the mindset and dealing with the pressure has to change. Paul Huskerson, here's one for you, Les, because I know your technology didn't always allow you to see the message board. Paul says, it was a pleasure to bump into Les at the Watford Gap service station coming home from the Aldershot game. Were you at Watford Gap services, Les?
We were, yes.
So you've not got a doppelganger, that was you.
Who are we talking to? Our club photographer?
Paul,
There's quite a number of Notts fans in there that I said hello to when we were coming back.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Right. David Shorter. Hang on, there's a few more. I don't want to miss them out. Shafita Bads, I'm confused. Ian also saying we gave them very little, but I'm not being funny. They play 1 up front in our half against a back 4, so I should hope not. Steph Milek, you pay your money, so you have every right to boo or not to boo. Personally, I don't see the point if you're winning the game against anybody. How does booing affect when winning help anyway? Duncan Connery, IB, Ian, can't understand home fans booing. Well, I'm sure there's plenty of travelling fans can't understand why the team fails to turn up at away games so often. David Shorter, there was a little bit of booing at the final whistle. I think it was a bit of frustration from those thinking we should steamroller every side we play. Jarfito, I don't agree with the booing. I personally just didn't clap them off. That was what it deserved. Chris Gosling, evening all wasn't the best game, but booing unacceptable. Leave early, offer constructive criticism, but to boo your own team off after a win at this stage of the season with the position, madness. Gary S, on our day we can beat anyone at this level. Question is, can we be on our day for 3 matches in the playoffs? Definitely possible, but a tough ask. David Shorter, spot on comments from Les. Dale Pikey, you pay your money and you should be allowed to voice your opinion, whether the manager or other fans don't like it or not. The sooner we get to the playoff games, the better. These games are always a hiding to nothing. Gary Wardle, in the main, the fans have been behind the team, but at this stage to produce Torquay Aldershot, surely something should be expected to displease some. Chris Gosling, I worry we are chopping and changing. Chris, who's normally very, very positive. Well, I worry we are chopping and changing the starting 11 too much at the minute, and we need a clear first choice 11 playing together in the next few games to build up some cohesion behind the playoffs. Gary Wardle, to explain we have 20 corners or shots, yet fans see 1 goal, does his cause no good. Ballum, you've right, you've obviously got a stalker, Chloe. I'm only joking, Ballum. Chloe is back after a Fort Lauderdale and Miami trip. Well, we'll find out in a minute. Losing to Aldershot was bad. Win against Dover was only 1-0. Important to get the playoffs for Notts. Paul with doppelganger joke. Paul Huskisson's, yeah, I was talking to Dan, the photographer. Ballum, respect to the Dover fans who went to the away match. I saw through social media, it was a handful. I think it was about 60. Okay, Chloe. So let's just dive away from fans having a pop at each other.
Paul, can I just come in before you go to Chloe? Because we received 1 or 2 comments back about the booing. I would just like to ask the question back to the lads that's listening and passing comments. Would it be all right for the Wrexham fans to boo their team having won 6-5? But so they've won by the odd goal. And would it be all right for the Chesterfield fans to boo last week when they scored 2 goals in injury time to win the match? They won by the odd goal. Would that be sort of acceptable as well?
Okay, well, we will get some thoughts and
I'd just like to put that in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's out there, Les. It's out there.
Okay.
And we'll see what people have to say. I mean, one of the points, before we just head to Chloe, apologies for the wait, Chloe, that I think frustrated me a little bit. And it was almost something you couldn't write. So someone had come on to some Facebook or some message board and gone, fans are a disgrace today. Booing the result, etc., etc., etc. This other guy's gone, were you at the game? And this guy's gone, no, I wasn't, right? And this other guy's gone, I wasn't either. And you got all these people like me chirping in, right, moaning at fans who pay their money, right, and having a go at them, and they weren't even there themselves. And the most important core group of people at any organisation, at any football club, are the ones that physically go and pay. That doesn't mean other people do not have a right to an opinion, but how informed that opinion is, if you're not even there, I think it's debatable in the extreme. Chloe, you weren't there last weekend. Shame on you. What was your excuse?
I was actually in Miami, so in my opinion, a bit of a quite a good excuse, actually.
Yeah. I bet David Beckham wishes you'd go there more often, doesn't he?
I know. Well, they were kind of bottom of the table when we went to watch them. This is Inter Miami, and they beat a 4th, so it was great. So it was a good luck charm because then they lost the next game. So
yeah, this was all part of your university course, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so we went out for a week and we was doing like networking events and went to a ice hockey game, a soccer game, and what's the other one? A baseball game, which it's not my favourite sport. We sat there for over 3 hours and saw no one score, and then got up to leave and missed the home run on the last inning. So that wasn't the best, but it's an experience.
The Florida Marlins. It's a wonderful stadium, though, isn't it?
Oh, it was incredible. It was an incredible evening, and like the event that they put on. If anybody gets a chance to go over and see any American sport, they're all a big event. And it's actually funny because a lot of people don't actually go and sit in their seats for the whole game, no matter what game it is. They come in a lot later, like near the end of the soccer game, near the end of the ice hockey game, and baseball game. So it's just like an event rather than concentrating on the sport. But yeah, if anybody gets a chance to go and see anything, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, all the American sports, it's nowhere near as tribal as we are. And they certainly don't boo. They don't cheer a lot of the time either. But it's a show. It is like going to a show. There's all sorts of different kinds of entertainment laid on throughout the event, and it's like a family outing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not cheap either, I'll tell you that.
Hey, when I was a student in Sheffield, we used to go to a parish council. That was the limit of our trips. You go to bloody Florida and watch NHL, NFL, NBA. Crikey, not bad. But yeah, how did you cope with missing Notts?
Well, after hearing the result, especially Aldershot, and I wasn't too kind of gutted that I missed that one. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird experience when obviously I was away and the time difference is so big. Obviously keeping an eye out on that, and obviously the Weymouth game sounded good. I just missed out on the train to Dover, but by the sounds of all the road closures, I think I needed to give that one a miss, even for the 3 points, because I heard people didn't get back till 4 o'clock in the morning. And after my 30 hours of traveling, I think I was done with traveling that day. But yeah, it's great to hear the results and kind of keep up to date. But you do miss it, even if you are in somewhere like Miami.
Okay. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to read something out from social media, which I actually think is quite good. And I know it ignites issues, but I think even almost behind this booing, I think there is some deep-seated split in our fans, and I've banged on about this for a little while, and I just really want everyone to kind of come together and forget, this side or that side. And this is the tweet. Tell me what you think, and we'll stick with Chloe and then Les. This is a thread that will mention the words Ardley and Birchinall, but please bear with me, as rather than it being about comparing the two, it's about how the timing of the decision to remove the former seemed to create such polarised opinions about the latter, which still remain today. Wherever you stood on Neil Ardley's sacking, the decision was highly controversial, but would probably have been much more widely accepted at the end of that season, and therefore likely resulted in far more widespread support for Ian. As it was, the timing had the effect of polarising some of the noisier parts of our fan base, and over a year on, those extreme views still appear to hold. On one hand, some fans who wanted Neil Ardley sacked became almost immediately sycophantic towards Ian and won't have any criticism against him. On the flip side, some fans who didn't want Neil Ardley sacked seemed to make their mind up about Ian straight away and come across like they want him to fail. Both positions are unhealthy, but the result of it all is that Notts fans don't feel anywhere near as united as the club needs us to be. What was done in the past is done, but I fear that those rifts will only be healed by promotion. No doubt someone will reply by trying to start comparing the two. That's just part of the problem. With 2 league games and a playoff campaign left, all we can do is support the team. There will be plenty of time for accolades and recriminations when it's all over. Chloe?
Yeah, when you were speaking about it earlier before you read that tweet out, I kind of agree that it's something that's embedded for a long time, being the whole Ardley debate. And I completely agree, you got to forget about it now. We're talking over a year ago, come on, we're a different manager. It's not as if it's just happened. I don't really care if you agree or disagree with the sacking. We're not even in that ballpark anymore. Just kind of, you've got to get behind the manager and the team, whether you like them or not, especially now with the last stretch. I think there's a lot of different things embedded at the minute behind kind of the booing situation. Me personally, I didn't really understand the team selection at Aldershot. I didn't go personally, so I can't comment on how we played, etc. Only kind of what I've heard from different people that have gone. But listening to his interview after the Dover game, look, I'm not a manager and I haven't played the game, so it's to kind of take my opinion as you will. But I would have probably maybe done the opposite. I know you can't kind of go, oh, we'll put a second string out against Dover because they're bottom of the league. It doesn't quite work like that. But me personally, in a away game, I would have put a stronger side out because, like you said, the reason that he did swap players about wasn't because of how they performed. He was always going to do that. So maybe I would have done the opposite. If he was going to rest players, I might have rested a few more against Dover and then brought them on if they were kind of fit enough. But that's kind of another argument. But I think, like you say, there's a lot of different things that are embedded. And now we're getting to the point in the season where we are 5th. And like you say, that's probably the highest we are going to finish now. And a couple of games ago, we were looking at 3rd, 4th, even 3rd. You know what I mean? So maybe we've now kind of hit the nail on the head of we're not going to get that. And we're going to be in that second lot of the playoffs where we're going to have to play the 2 games. That's kind of an added thing. So I think people are certainly getting a bit disgruntled with everything, especially if you didn't want Ardley sacked and you don't like Ian and you never have done, and then you disagreed with what happened at Aldershot, and now we're not going to get third. It's just kind of like one thing after another, and I think it's kind of eating away at people. But like you say, you've got to look at the bigger picture at this point. Like, you didn't want Ardley sacked at this point in the season that he did get sacked. We're now a little bit further on from that, but surely you don't want the same to happen to a different manager. Surely you want at least for him to see this out. I don't have an opinion, I'd like to see him obviously see this through, and then we'll kind of go from there. I've not even thought about what's going to happen next season, because in my mindset, we are where we are now. Playoffs are, we say a lottery, but we all know you have to kind of perform well to win them. But let's get through this stage. Next season's so far away at the minute. We've got quite a few games until we can even consider next season. So I just think at the minute, put your opinions aside, get behind the lads, and then start forming your opinions in pre-season. Obviously, you've got to appreciate everyone else's opinion, and your opinion isn't always going to be right. None of us are managers. Only a few of us have ever played professionally. So it's a difficult one. But yeah, we're definitely divided. A lot of Notts fans are divided on most topics. But at the minute, just get behind them. And I can't disagree with that tweet that I do think there's a lot of things embedded as to why we've got to this. I don't think people were booing just because we drew 1-0 to Dover. 1-0 against Dover, because I think that's crazy to me, no matter how we played. So yeah, I do think this small percentage of fans have kind of got a lot kind of built up and just kind of went, yeah, well, I want to let my opinion known now, which, yeah, I don't think is the right time personally, and there's better ways to go about it.
What's your take on it, Les?
On my take on what, Paul?
So on the tweet I read out, where a supporter is saying there is still kind of two divided camps within our fan base, that to an extent people almost brush the results under the carpet because they have a personalised view on Ian, which is either over here or over there, and we'll make a load of excuses, or we'll say, I don't know, to quote our resident Twitter numpty, if we boo again, we'll drive him out of the club. Clearly ain't going to happen. What's your take on all of that?
I think my take is that the owners of the club have their ideas on the club, the management of the club. They were very close to Neil. They're still very close to Neil. Can't remember which match it was, which home match recently. Was it the Halifax game? He was sat in the director's box. He had a meal with our directors. He's a great friend to the club. So there was no nastiness at all when he departed. In fact, he wrote a wonderful letter. I don't know if you saw it.
Yes, I did.
Went to the League Managers Association, that was published for everybody to see. And maybe he had a little bit of saying that it probably wasn't his way of running a football club. I don't know. I'm not privy to that, but like Chloe said, it's happened. We move on, and whatever we must do, we get behind the club and give it our best support. We've moved on. It's a year plus gone now.
Yeah, I was kind of like having, and we talk about the sponsors' lunch today, where few of us were invited down. All the players were there, all the coaching staff were there. Alice Kelk organised the event extremely well. You compared it, and I was able to have a chat with quite a few of the players. I have to say, they are all excellent ambassadors. They all speak very, very well. I thought they were very considerate to all the sponsors that were there, answered all their questions. I thought they were very, very good, very impressive. And on my son's table, we had Richard Brindley. He kept showing us photos of all his modelling assignments. It's only a joke, Richard. I know you might be watching. I'm only joking, all right? I'm only joking. Ed Francis, very articulate, very intelligent guy. Matty Palmer. And all the lads are saying, you'll never get him to do a podcast. You won't get more than 30 seconds out of him. Very good. Again, Matty, very good. And we also had Lewis Knight, And again, spoke very well, talking about, you know, his many years at Leeds and how he went over into the American collegiate system before coming back over here. And they all spoke very well. What I can tell you, I think they were all pretty nonplussed or bemused by the inverted commas booing. Yeah, I mean, several of them went to me, you know, what booing? You know, I says, well, I got to be honest, I didn't hear it either. So I certainly do not worry that this has in any way been viewed as a negative by the players. Certainly the ones I was talking to. But the one I want, the kind of thing I want to talk to you about, because I had a chat with Kyle Wootton, who's a lovely lad, and have you both seen the film Dead Poet Society, Robin Williams? No, Chloe, blank look. Blank look.
No.
Okay. I'm hoping some of my flock have, whilst this story is going to die a death. So it's Robin Williams, teacher. Thankfully, Kyle Wootton had seen it. And as a Latin phrase, carpe diem, yeah, which basically means seize the day, seize the moment. And what Robin Williams as the teacher does, I'm hoping, flock, please, some of you say you've seen the film, because it's going to be a bloody hard sell otherwise. So Robin Williams, with a group of students, takes them down a long corridor. And there are a lot of team photographs from previous years of sports teams, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. He points out, you know, what do you see? What do you see to the students? And they all kind of look a bit blank. And to cut a long story short, he says, you know, photo 1917. Do you know what now? They're all dead. They're all pushing daisies up. But just look at the life in the photo of them at that particular moment in time. Carpe diem is the Latin phrase for seize the day, seize the moment. And I was talking with Kyle, and Kyle thankfully has seen the film. So, yeah. You mean, yeah. And I said, look, the next month or so is going to be a seminal moment for Notts County Football Club. You know, in the space of 4 or 5 games, we can be back in the Football League and say goodbye to this God-forsaken league that is the National League. Now, if we get through that, every one of them players now becomes a Football League player again, or for the first time. You know, they can write what they want out for contracts. It changes the whole dynamic. That group, the group of players that we currently have, will probably, in the event of promotion, will probably stay very, very, very similar, because people have got new challenges. You look at Neil Warnock with the likes of Mark Draper, Tommy Johnson, they stayed with the club and played in the top flight with the club before moving on. Had we not won any one of them playoff games, they'd have gone, and they would have gone with the club's blessing and our blessing. For us to, for this group of players to blossom, to be successful, in my humble opinion, I was talking this with Kyle, we've got to get promoted. So when people prevaricate, say, oh, it doesn't really matter if we go up this year, we're playing lovely football. That people talk about how we'll be all right next year, because if we get rid of Stockport and Wrexham, we'll be a much weaker division next year. For me, this is all absolute cobblers, right? It's an excuse mentality. It's an excuse brigade. We have got a talented group of players. If we want to keep that group of players, we need to get promoted. If Ian Birchnell wants to go on to be a successful manager, head coach in football, he needs to get promotion on his CV. Without one, he won't go anywhere, right? He will not go anywhere. These are the harsh, brutal facts. And so I kind of want us as fans and everybody to embrace a 4 or 5 game season. And tying back into these comments earlier, I'm not sure. And Kyle said, yeah, he says, good. He says, I'm going to tell the lads about that. Yeah. I see what you mean. The photo, carpe diem. I just think we've got to seize the moment, get up for it, because I think we're very technical and all the rest of it. And clearly it's one step at a time, because we need to get another point to be in the playoffs before we start working out how we're going to play the playoffs. But you would know, Les, you're too young, Chloe, you would know that Neil Warnock had certain ways in which he approached playoffs. And if I'm being brutally honest, I think we have approached the last 2 playoff campaigns poorly. I think we made a massive mistake with the whole Wembley shenanigans. And I think, given that we leaked far too many goals last season, we let 4 in a playoff game. So to me, they are, whichever way you want to look at it, errors. I just think, to win in the playoffs, there's a certain way of doing it. There's a level of luck, but it's not a lottery. It's not a lottery. I mean, can you remember, Les, with Neil and some of the things he would get up to ahead of the playoffs?
Well, along the same theme that you're talking, I was talking to Carl Cameron's tables, Carl Roberts, and who else was on there? Richardson was on there, and sponsors, and sponsors brought up. He says, "Do you remember scoring that last-minute goal, Les, at the City Ground? I was there, this, that, and the other." And then one of the lads said, "Oh, you're a legend." I says, "Let me tell you this." I says, "We get promoted this year. You're all legends." And they looked and said, "No, we'll never be legends coming out of the National League." I says, "You'll be legends. If you get promoted back into the league, your names will be up there as legends of the club. Don't make no mistake." Would you agree, Paul?
I totally agree. And interestingly,
they couldn't believe that. So I thought I'll go pass that on around the other tables to the lads as well. It G'd them up. They felt, wow, yeah, they started to think about it. Yeah.
I don't want to get on my soapbox here, but clearly there is a very technical approach, okay? A heavy reliance on statistics. And I'm not just talking Ian here, I'm talking about a club, right? A football club will never get promoted on statistics alone. It will never get promoted on measurement, metrics. It will never get promoted because the training 5 days a week is the most intensive of any club in that division. Those are all important parts that go into the mix. We've had Neil Bishop on here. Freely admits, worst trainer during the week. He crossed the line. Was a different player to the one that was in training. And clearly the game has become a more precise science now. But you've got to have the emotion. You've got to have that, and that would be, if I'm being honest, the question mark. The question mark I've got against, can we get promoted? Aside from, I've banged on about it till the cows come home, we can see too many goals. The top 10 teams, do you know who's got the worst defensive record of all top 10 teams? Us. Now, you ain't getting promoted like that. Gary Wardle-Warner, of course, Cyril would have succeeded with this squad. Not presently the case, is the cause of disharmony among fans. Andrew Blatherwick, the only statistic that matters is the final league table. Joseph Spinks, I think constructive criticism is fine, but some of the stuff on social media is far from constructive. Sacking IB when we still have an outside chance of promotion seems crazy to me. I mean, if someone said that, Joseph, in the last day or two, then I am truly staggered, but kind of just proves my point. Aaron Porter, playing like you don't care about the fans that are paying for your wages is also counterproductive. People seem happy to ignore that fact. Yeah, and I think kind of some of the comments here demonstrate that there is a bit of a split. But I think we're all agreed this is a horrible league for a variety of reasons. We are on the cusp of being able to get out of it. Okay? Now, to do that, we've got to win the playoff campaign. Why shouldn't we? I am fed up with so many people giving 101 reasons why we shouldn't, and excuses as to, well, we can't compete with Wrexham and Stockport. I read somewhere today that we can never compete with Wrexham or Stockport because they've spent more money than us. Notts County's budget versus Barrow's. Barrow won the league. Notts County's budget versus Sutton. They won the league. It's a ridiculously weak argument. Without in any way wishing to count our chickens, Chloe, I think you said before, haven't you, as a young fan, what's the stat in terms of the last 4 or 5 seasons for you in terms of playoff campaigns and all the rest of it?
I just think that
This will be
every
your 4th
season we
playoff
either
campaign, wouldn't it? If we get into the playoffs, this will be your 4th playoff campaign. Tell me, as a young fan, what do the playoffs mean to you?
Out of this league more than any. I wrote my whole dissertation on me being bitter about the Coventry game. So if that tells you anything about how much I want us to win the playoffs, then I don't know what else will. For me, it's the best way to go up. Winning the league would be great, but if you could say, I know it doesn't work like this, but in hindsight, at the start of any season, would you rather go up automatically? And obviously in some leagues you could come 2nd or 3rd and go up automatically. Or would you prefer to win at Wembley? Obviously now it's at the London Stadium, but besides all of that, I'd always choose to win the playoffs. The extra couple of games, I think you're sky high. Because especially if you win the league, you tend to know by the last game. So you've kind of already won it, and then you kind of play an extra game and everyone's just a bit like, well, it's kind of over now. Whereas the playoffs, it just kind of builds up to this climax at the end, and that's all I want. Whereas we obviously got to a final when we couldn't go, which was gutting. But every other time I've seen us, we've dropped out early. So it's kind of, we've got there, we've got a little bit closer, and then we've lost. So to win one, I can't imagine. I've never seen us got promoted. In all the seasons that I've supported us, I think there'll only be a couple that we either weren't relegated in a relegation fight till one of the last games of the season or in playoffs. So we're not a middle of the table club as far as I've supported them. So like you say, just get in them now, have a mentality, everyone get behind them. And you just don't know. We could turn up and everybody knows that we can beat anyone if we turn up. Somebody can have a bad game. It can go 100 different ways. Just get in them first. Playoffs are massive to me. It could be played at Arnold Town Football Club and I'd still want to be kind of there at the final. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to be playing at Wembley, and I don't know the kind of logistics behind why it's at the London Stadium, but it is where it is. If that's where we get promoted, great. I just want to get promoted now, especially out of this league.
How important is getting promotion this year for you, Les?
I don't think it's this year or next year or year before. You just want us to get out of the league, and that has, want that to happen as soon as possible. But if we don't do it, it's not the end of everything. We've still got a Notts County. There'll still be a team that these owners will put out there. But yeah, I understand everybody's frustration and they want to get back up there. But it's a very competitive league now, isn't it? Certainly over the last 3 or 4 years that we've been in it, to see the teams coming in there and to see teams in this league recruiting players from 2 levels above, it's just unheard of, isn't it? It means so much now. There are some wealthy owners of clubs that are using money. I don't know whether they've got the money or not, but they're spending money, and it needs to pay dividends. If it doesn't, I don't know what's going to happen. We'll find out, won't we, a little later when the league sorts itself out.
If there were playoffs when you were playing, how do you think Jimmy Cyril would have approached a playoff campaign?
I don't think we can compare the game today, that, as I mentioned earlier on, with the game that we played. The numbers, I'm talking to the players, and I'm talking about rotation. We never had anything like that. We played a Friday, Saturday, Monday, and the opposition were doing the same thing. There was no televised matches, so if you were tired, everybody was tired together. There was no resting players. That just didn't come into it. I had a word with Carl Wotton today. He went over the 20 mark a couple of games ago, and he got a slight injury. He's sort of taken a step back, had a rest for a couple of games. You know, that wouldn't have been accepted by me. If I'd scored a goal, there's no way that Jimmy Cyril would have left me out. I'd have gone banging on the door. That just wouldn't happen. So the game is different. The players, you know, I talk to the players, and they definitely want to get promoted. And you know, I come from a background with Jimmy, which was always about winning the battle before you could go on and win the game. It was very important to do that, and we had to. As we left that dressing room, he got a hold of every player around the scruff of the neck and says, "Remember, you've got to effing win the battle before you can play. You know, it might take 5 minutes, it might take 85 minutes, but you had to win the battle." And when I look at football now, and I watch the game, and I'm looking for who's doing that on the pitch, you know, I'm looking at who are the effective players, those that are looking to win the game, not necessarily playing great football, but they've got a desire. You talked about Neil Bishop. He had that, didn't he, in abundance. You know, we talked about not the best trainer, but when he went on that pitch, he was going to win that game, and he was upset when things didn't go right. You know, that's one thing I was saying to one or two of the lads today. I said, you get upset when it doesn't go right. We probably don't see that so much. They said they do. So, you know, that's lifted me a little, you know, because I want to see that. I want to see them upset and getting the desire to win. But I think they'll give it the best shot. Whether it's good enough, I can't give an answer to that. But, you know, we're up there. We're fighting. We're in the hat.
Yeah. It's very interesting, though, because when I was talking with Kyle, I definitely detected from Kyle an appetite, as I'm sure there is among all the players, an appetite for the fight. You know, he said to me, "Bring it on." You know, carpe diem, right? Tell the lads. And I think he'd said after one game when they'd won, you know, he's gone in and he's dug a few people out. He said, "I was angry, you know, because we should have play better," and so on. And I think this is not about players shouting for the sake of shouting to look good. Yeah. But you know, what you say, Les, about winning battles, individual battles, I do think is very, very important. I do think is very, very important. And a lot of people, and I don't know whether this is all part and parcel of the same thing. Steph Milek saying mentality is the key. There is a reason these players are at this level, not just ability, but mentality and dealing with pressure. That's where IB and Doyle need to earn their corn. Chris Gosling adds, "I see Altrincham." Yes, I saw this myself. Are going full time next season. Even the long-standing non-league teams know they have to evolve to carry on competing at this level. And I was also talking with Lewis Knight, National League North. I think Gateshead have been crowned champions. Mike Williamson, former Newcastle centre half, is the manager there. I think he's done a very good job. Lewis certainly said they were the best team in National League North. They're full time. So, you know, I get frustrated when people say, "Oh, well, we've done better this year because it's a tougher league. We've done well. So really finishing fifth this year is better than finishing fifth last year because it's a stronger division." This is not the players. This is some of our fans, which I think gets back to the division, the Twitter poster. I just think it's complete cobblers. I really do. It is just like you're going through a statistical spreadsheet. It's like Labour Party HQ or Conservative Party PRHQ, right? Let's come up with some tangential PR, right? And just spin it in a certain way. You know, I think we have got a fantastic opportunity to get promoted this year. I really do. We've got match winners. Yeah, your Rubens, your Kell, Kyle Wharton. You've got three players, borderline 20 goals a season, right? So there's no issue scoring goals. There is a question mark about we'll need to keep a clean sheet or two, probably, to go through. I think we've got a fantastic opportunity. You know, carpe diem. I just wish we would embrace it a little bit more. You know, hopefully, Ian, you know, making mention of the booing, I suspect on Saturday there will be a big reception. There will be a big reception from the fans on Saturday, certainly at the start of the game. Hope we can get an early goal, and you know, could be a way of uniting people together again. I mean, personally, Chloe, I don't think Altrincham will be an easy game. I actually think, and you will remember, I said we wouldn't win all 7. Fifth for me is far from assured. If I'm honest with you, I think both Altrincham and Maidenhead away are tricky games. If I remember rightly, it was a bit of a nightmare at Altrincham when we were behind that goal. Do you remember?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was 1-0. The best part of the day was that it was nice and sunny, but yeah, an awful day. But like you say, and look at who Maidenhead have beat at home. That last game could come down to us getting 5th or 6th or 7th. And that's not discounting Altrincham. We might have slipped up before then. But that last game of the season it's not an easy one at all. Well, neither is the home game, but I dread to think that a kind of home and away tie could be in the balance. The best thing we can do is obviously go and win on Saturday, and hopefully that, well, it should secure a playoff place at least. I think we only need a point. But that home tie is we're so desperate for it. Obviously our away performances haven't been good enough this season, but that's not to say we can't put one more good one in if we get to the semi-final. It's one game. But I just wouldn't like to play the 2. I think the best chance we've got is obviously getting that first home tie in the quarterfinal, and then seeing what we can do against whoever we play in the semi-final.
Dale Pikett, best bit of that day at Altrincham was the fish and chip shop. Yes, I remember that, across the road from the ground. It was a good fish and chippy, wasn't it? Chris Gosling, Altrincham are in the top 6 in the current form table. Steph Milek, Les, you are spot on. I was watching the Aldershot players closely, and they were winning the individual battles all over the park. They bullied, harassed, and we couldn't handle it. Dale Pikett, Grimsby have Maidenhead and Boreham Wood at home, and Eastleigh away last game. Chesterfield have Torquay away and Woking at home. Maggie Grant obviously just joined us. Hello all. Hello, Maggie. Chris Gosling, the players need to approach the next 2 games like a play-off game. Les, we're speaking playoffs. One man who was instrumental in knowing how to win them, and had a bit of a wand of a left foot that could either ping a ball 70 yards or do a bit of damage to an opponent. Dean Thomas is back Saturday, correct?
Yeah, he's the club special guest on Saturday. I've just had a message from him. He looks like he's bringing a couple of mates or the family. He wants a table of 4. So he's coming along to talk about his successful times with Notts and the promotions. I don't know whether he's going to do any singing. You know, he sings a little bit for a living now. He entertains people with his Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra, that's it. Yeah. But for those that don't know, during lockdown, he used to go on, didn't he, on a Saturday evening and live stream in his living room playing Frank Sinatra hits. Very bizarre, but very good. Very good.
That's one for you, Paul. Next week, are you going to do one?
What? Sing a Frank Sinatra song?
Do a live stream, Frank Sinatra, yeah.
I'll tell you what,
we get promoted. Everybody will love to see that.
Here you go. We get promoted, right? I will sing on here any Frank Sinatra song you choose to name. All right?
I won't
guarantee the audience will dwindle very, very quickly. We get promoted at the London Stadium. I will sing a Frank Sinatra song of your choice. And,
wonderful.
And what was your? We did forfeits last year because we couldn't get you to do one, could we? Was it something with a wheelbarrow around the pitch? Chloe, you're going to have a tattoo, weren't you?
I was, and I'm still tattoo free. So let's see what happens.
Hey, tattooed warrior, Frank Sinatra impersonator. What was your forfeit, Les?
I can't remember what you was. No, you was going to ask my two sons to come up with something that you never did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm open to offers. I'll do the same as well. If ask the listeners what they expect me to do, and I'll do my best to oblige on promotion.
Right, and two of our most vociferous and avid followers. You can come in now. Gary Wardle and Chris Gosling, who do sometimes present opposite ends of the spectrum. We can have some forfeits from you if we win at the London Stadium as well. Chris Gosling says Les's forfeit is to replace the cuckoo clock. Now, I quite like the cuckoo clock. It's got a bit of something on it. I'm just trying to think of other things to do with forfeits. There was something else I was going to say there, but I've just temporarily lost my train of thought. While I'm trying to remember it, just to put it out there, Notts County ladies playing Rotherham United next Monday, 7:45 at Meadow Lane. £3.50 admission if you want to go and support Notts County ladies. That's next Monday against Rotherham. I believe they're trying to break an attendance record for the league. So if you can get along next Monday, please do so. Dale Parkett, Paul and Les do a duet. Oh, blimey. We'll see. We'll see. Right. I think we'll probably wrap up for the evening. It's been a long day. Thank you very much for all your time. Aldershot, you'll be there, Chloe?
Altrincham.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I'll be there. And at Maidenhead as well. So I can't miss too many now.
Yeah, Les, you will be keeping Dean Thomas in check. Remember, everybody, no booing. Please, no booing. Thank you very much for listening in tonight. Thank you to Chloe for getting her back on the show. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah, there's a big bet going on somewhere. Gary Wardle's mentioning it now. No, what was the bet about the top three? Gary Wardle and someone I used to go to school with in Snenton or something. Obviously, we're not going to finish top three. Did you lose that, win that, Gary? I seem to remember both of you going at it hammer and tongs for about 3 months on it. Gary Wardle, I already publicly lost a pint to Chris Gosling if we make top five, but hope another, that's it. But hope another honours his bet of 50 quid to charity if not top three. Well, I think you've won that one, Gary, and you crikey, can we still mathematically get third? I'm not sure, but I don't think it's happening. Did I read out the fixtures earlier? Yes, I did, didn't I? Personally, I think for fifth, I think we're going to need to win both games to have a home game. If I was putting any money on a playoff game right now, I would look. You want to be optimistic and say home to Grimsby. I wonder if he might be away at Grimsby. We'll see. We'll see. Another trip on the train to Grimsby, Chloe, and you can leave 5 minutes early. Yeah.
I don't think I'll be doing that again. No.
Miss that 89th minute winner.
Yeah, let's not do that. Play that game again.
Les, enjoy yourself. Thank you for comparing the event for today. Lunch, it was very good. I see somewhere very limited space, because traditionally the last home game of the season, everything gets sold out, doesn't it? Is there anything left or not?
Yeah, they've opened up the third room like they did on Saturday, and there is limited space, I believe, in both rooms. If anybody interested in hospitality, you must get in touch with Alice tomorrow. I don't think there'll be anything left on Thursday.
Okay, so if you want to enjoy hospitality, see Les, see Dean Thomas, possibly hear from a Frank Sinatra impersonator into the bargain. Get hold of Alice and the club hospitality very quickly. Thank you, everyone, for tonight. Good luck. You got a big exam this week, haven't you, Chloe?
Yeah, last 2 presentations left for me, and then I'm all done. So head down and then enjoy the game.
Absolutely. We wish you all the very best on that. Leslie, thank you again. Thank you to everyone.
Thanks, Chloe.
Thank you, everyone, for being respectful. Proper debate, as always. We look forward to seeing you on the show next Monday evening. Take care for now. Thank you. Good night.